Okay, so yeah, so as I mentioned, we just appreciate this opportunity to talk a little bit about Innovia Foundation, answer questions for those of you who maybe don't know about us and want to know some more information. But we know the amazing work that you all are doing with Alice Population is incredible, and that's exactly the type of work and we want to support and partnerships that we like to have. So I'll run through, we're thinking maybe 20 minutes for the presentation and hopefully have a chance to answer questions for y'all. So Innovia is the community foundation for Eastern Washington and North Idaho. We serve 20 counties. Before we kind of dive into that, I thought it would be helpful to talk just a little bit broadly about community foundations and kind of what are those entities. It's not just something that we have here, but community foundations are 501c3 organizations, grant-making organizations. There's about 700 across the United States. First community foundation was established in Cleveland in 1925. And I like to speak to that because I think it really speaks to the reason for community foundations. So history buffs may recognize at that time there were very wealthy philanthropists, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, who really kind of had a monopoly on philanthropy because they had all the dollars and could kind of drive all the decisions. So the concept of a community foundation was born there in Cleveland, and that the idea that anybody could be a philanthropist. So even if you have a lesser amount of money to put toward community work, you could put those dollars in with a community foundation, have those pooled with other donor dollars, and that way the everyman, every person could play a role in philanthropy. And so really that's what we do, is we bring together financial resources and amplify the impact of philanthropy. Every community foundation is a little bit different, but there are some key characteristics of what makes them a community foundation. And that is they are here to support nonprofit and other charitable entities. They cover a specific geographic area. In our case, as I mentioned, the 20 counties of Eastern Washington and North Idaho. While we're focused geographically, community foundations fund into a broad range of impact areas. So unlike a private foundation, which might focus solely on funding into education or into health or into environment, as a community foundation, we support all of those areas because we know all of those are key pieces that weave together and create vibrant and sustainable communities. So we have broad areas of interests. We are committed to community leadership. So again, community foundations have a calling to look at long-term solutions with community partners, because the last characteristic is that we hold endowed funds. So we are here for permanency. We're here for the long term, an anchor institution in the regions that we serve. And so we know that being committed to community leadership is an important part of stewarding those dollars and using them effectively. So at Innovia, when we boil all of those pieces down kind of into our identity, we like to share out that our mission is to ignite generosity that transforms lives and communities. And we do that because our vision is for vibrant and sustainable communities where every person has the opportunity to thrive. So those are statements from our strategic framework that was developed in 2019. And I'm really proud of the fact that we as an organization probably refer to this, I would say, on a daily basis. So it really does drive our work and helps us focus on how we want to show up and partner in communities. We were established in 1974 as the Community Foundation. We're celebrating our 50-year anniversary. We actually became, the genesis of the Community Foundation was the result of Expo 74, where there was a lot of focus in the region of making this community, putting our best foot forward for the World's Fair in 1974. But then a group of visionaries said, what are we doing for the long term to make sure that we can continue to elevate our communities and invest in communities? And so that's why the tie with Expo in 74, and we're celebrating 50 years, which is super exciting this year. I mentioned we serve 20 counties, so we have 10 Eastern Washington, 10 North Idaho, 6 Native American tribes within that region. And while our primary office is here in Spokane, we are really, really thrilled with the regional engagement staff we have across the region. So we have staff in Colville, Sandpoint, Clarkston, and Christy in Coeur d'Alene, who is just an amazing asset for the foundation. Her office is in the Chamber building in Coeur d'Alene. So if you haven't met with her, I would encourage you to reach out and connect, and you can always find her there at the Chamber office. Speak a little bit about our impact areas. I mentioned we cover a variety of areas. We tend to categorize our funding in buckets. And that just helps us be able to share out on an annual basis where our dollars are going into what program areas. So we define our impact areas as focusing on education and youth development. We put dollars into health and well-being, which is a lot of the social services, human service programs, arts and culture programs, economic opportunity programs, so maybe helping chambers with some of their work, business startups through economic development corporations and things like that. And then quality of life is the category that we fund into, and those are things like, you know, spaces, community parks, playgrounds, things like that, where people gather to connect and socialize. So basically, our operating premise is that donors establish funds at Innovia. We pool those dollars and we invest them for growth. And then the dollars that are generated from those investments can then be distributed out as grants to support nonprofits and other charitable community initiatives and community leadership work. We can't do this work alone. And one of the things I'm just, I truly enjoy connecting with through Innovia is the power of community. So we have 10 leadership councils that we established in 2020. You can see here kind of the areas that our leadership councils cover. So between our 10 leadership councils, we have local representation from all the counties in our service area. We rely on our leadership council members to provide local input, help us understand what are the key needs in, you know, in Othello versus what might be the key needs in Sandpoint or in Genesee, Idaho. It looks all different across our region. We, based in Spokane, at our office, are just can't know what those most critical needs are. So we rely on our leadership council members to do that. And just a huge shout out to anybody here who might be on a leadership council. And just we appreciate that local support and volunteerism from those folks. So when we wrap up together that donor generosity, bringing together local community voice, and the amazing work then of investing into nonprofits doing good work, this is typically what it looks like on an annual basis. So through Innovia, we distribute about 1,700 grants totaling about $9.2 million. We currently hold 800 funds that have been set up by a variety of different types of donors. It could be an individual who set up a fund. It could be a family. It could be a nonprofit agency. We'll talk about that a little bit more. All those funds together total about $200 million in assets for the foundation. And then a little bit about how the community and people interact with Innovia and the Community Foundation. And that may look very different depending on somebody's role in the community. So obviously, as a donor coming to the foundation wanting to set up a fund, we work with them to identify what are their focus areas, what do they want to support philanthropically, and help them set up a fund that does that. Financial advisors come to us because they can help provide the information to their clients to help them meet their charitable goals. Students may come to the foundation and our portal because we offer about 40 different scholarship programs every year. And then nonprofits is a huge, huge part of our partnership and who we work with. And we work with nonprofits in a variety of ways. That's really what we want to focus on today. So what our nonprofit partnerships may look like, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with our community grants program that we run on an annual basis. That distributes about $1 million every year to nonprofit organizations. And again, it funds into all of those 5 different impact areas. So regardless of what your organization's mission is, it likely fits into one of those bucket categories that we fund into. We're currently under review of the applications that have been submitted for our community grants program. Those are being distributed and reviewed again to our local advisory groups. So while applications were submitted to Innovia, our next step is to distribute them out to local community advisory groups. And they're in the process of reviewing those, scoring those, and getting us to the point where we'll be able to announce grant decisions for this year in mid-May. In addition to the community grants program, we offer a variety of just capacity building resources for nonprofits. So I would encourage you all to visit. We have a capacity building page on our website. We're currently providing out a series of webinars with a nonprofit consultant named Nancy Bacon on different topics like board development, governance, nonprofit financial management, volunteer management, all kinds of things. And we're continually adding to that in response to what we hear our needs from our nonprofit folks of what they would like additional support and information on. And then lastly on here are our nonprofit endowment funds. And those are just a really growing part of the foundation and how we are able to partner and support nonprofits for future sustainability. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Christy because she's been doing a lot of work in this area and she can talk a little bit more about what that means for nonprofit organizations.
Thank you, Molly. Yes, they gave me this because I am passionate about this part of nonprofits as we figure out our diverse funding strategies and how to continue the work of nonprofits, how you continue your work forever, really. And so I spent the first 20 years of my career as a nonprofit director and a development director, and I really wish that I would have invested more energy into the opportunity of an endowment for organization sustainability. So I've been thinking through this and thinking through how do we demonstrate to nonprofits in a simple way how this works. And typically, what will happen is a donor in your one of your consistent donors may be interested in providing an initial gift to establish an endowment for your organization. That might be a gift of cash, it might be a gift of assets, it might be a gift of stock, it might be a gift of real estate, whatever it is. So here's a simple demonstration. Imagine someone made a gift of $25,000 and that gift is invested and grows. 15 years later, the interest from that initial investment has paid $20,000 into the organization, while the endowed fund balance has grown. So I hope you can kind of see that simply. And then 30 years later, you can see that the original gift has nearly tripled as the payout has increased at the same time that your endowment balance has increased. And so, Molly, if you want to go to the next slide, this is the Spokane Humane Society has given us permission to share how that has worked in their organization. They received a bequest, so some generous donor left them in their will, and when that person passed away, they received a gift of $400,000 in 1988. And since then, they've made almost $1 million in payouts from that. So as a nonprofit, if you establish an endowment, your board decides how your payouts are going to be spent. It could be for operating dollars, could be for special projects, it could be to meet the greatest need, but those are all decided upon by your board. So you can see that the balance today of the Spokane Humane Society's endowment is over $1 million. Can Innovia help guide a nonprofit through establishing an endowment fund? Yes, Dr. Sarah Lynch, that's exactly what we do and exactly what we want to be able to do. We want you to be prepared for anything. So if Farmer Joe, who you've known for a decade, calls and says, I want you to have my garbanzo bean farm. And you're like, how in the heck do I accept the gift of a garbanzo bean farm? That's exactly where Innovia steps in and helps you figure out the best way to receive and invest and take care of that gift. And I've been with the foundation for 2 months, and I can tell you, coming from the nonprofit side into this, I am blown away by how hard this team works to ensure nonprofit sustainability. And so, I mean, my job and the job of the team I work with is to yes, walk alongside you in any of these situations. We'll sit with a donor and have a discussion. We will help you get your endowment. We'll present to your board and talk about how an endowment works and help get your endowment established. So basically, that's really what we want. We want you to be ready to receive anything and create a funding model for sustainability and really forever impact. So there you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy. And I'm sure we're going to have some more questions on that maybe later on as we wrap things up and get to Q&A. I want to reaffirm one of the things that Christy had said about Innovia really being committed and invested in the health and sustainability of the nonprofit sector. Again, going back to donors come to Innovia to make good philanthropic investments, and we can't carry out that part of our work without having an incredibly vibrant and strong nonprofit sector that really is ensuring every person has the opportunity to thrive. So I just can't emphasize that enough. And we are our value. I mentioned our mission and our vision. Our values are being inclusive, collaborative, and innovative. And so we always try to get to yes, like Christy mentioned, the Garbanzo bean farm. One of the cool things about this job is we just never know from day to day what's like going to come in as a possibility. And we always like to work to, always try to get to yes in support of the nonprofit sector and the region that we serve. Before we get into our Launch Northwest initiative, which is really exciting, and Ben's going to share more about that, I just wanted to speak a little bit more to the community leadership role of Innovia in the region. So what that looks like in real life in some cases is being here to pivot maybe away from our traditional static grant making programs and being able to respond in real time to potential disaster situations, which we all know, unfortunately, is just really becoming the standard. I've been here for 16 years, and we did not respond to a disaster probably for the first 12 years I was here, and now it seems like every year there's something, and probably will continue to be that way. So in the case of COVID-19, Innovia was positioned to set up a fund that other national, regional donors could fund into, and so that we could re-grant, whether it was ARPA dollars, private donation dollars, things like that. So during COVID, we distributed about $36 million to businesses as well as nonprofit organizations. And then we've also played a role with the Malden wildfires in Whitman County in fall of 2020, and then most recently the Gray and Oregon Road fires. Again, and we're able to set up the fund that then donors can respond to. So those who want to be able to give and know that the dollars are going to get to the organizations that are doing the boots on the ground work. So it's kind of how we lean into our community leadership role when it comes to disaster response. Other things that we do, some of you may have recently connected to our Community Leadership Summit, which was March 18th and 19th here in Spokane. We are really invested in helping local communities develop their leadership capacity. Again, we know the best way for vibrant and sustainable communities is to have an engaged local population that can help communities come up with kind of their common vision and identify the resources and get there. So we're going to walk alongside those communities, invest and support in helping them kind of do the work that's important to them. So that also leads to the Community Heart and Soul Initiative, which is an example of one of our strategic initiatives that was just launched at our Leadership Summit in March. And this is a program that local communities can apply to. And this is a community convening process. So we will be selecting up to 6 communities, 6 to 10, that will have funding available and resources available to pull together a community visioning process, bring people together about what do they love about their communities, what do they want to invest in, what's their vision for the future, and then how do they get there. So we're really excited to be partnering with the Community Heart and Soul organization to do that and bring that here. So we'd love to share more information about that if folks have questions on it. There's also a lot of information on our website about that. And then now I'm also going to turn it over to Ben Small to talk about our Launch Northwest education initiative.
Thank you very much, Molly. It very important to understand and know that Launch Northwest has really grown from the vision of the Innovia Foundation, and really out of the pillar of every person thrives, as well as the vibrant and sustainable communities. For us, our vision is that a robust economy, vibrant and sustainable communities, and this notion that every individual can thrive. And then from that, we come down to coming together to ensure that every child finds belonging, and that belonging piece is really important to us. And for me, when we talk about belonging, we talk about this notion of when you bring your best self, you should not have to change your best self in order to fit in. You should be able to belong in your community, and your community should accept that. So our principles are: we're trustworthy, collaborative, and courageous in all that we do. And courageous is a big word and a big part of this, because in this work, as we do this work, as you know, sometimes you have to wake people up. Sometimes you have to cause them to think differently about the work that they're doing in order to meet the needs of our young people. So we started with this. We're planning to launch in Spokane County and Kootenai County at the same time. And we kind of slowed down in Kootenai County. The Idaho Launch Program from Governor Little came out, and there were some other political, the political nature of what was happening with NIC and others in Coeur d'Alene caused us to take a step back and say, let's pause in North Idaho. Let's let Idaho Launch get a hold. Let's understand exactly how that's going to impact North Idaho, and then we will start moving. So we are now from aspiration to implementation. And we are in implementation in Spokane County and ready to start moving into our other counties, rural Eastern Washington and North Idaho counties. These are our priorities: kindergarten readiness, attendance. In Spokane County, over 41% of our children miss more than a month of school each year. 41%, that's staggering. FAFSA and WASFA completion, high school completion, post-high school enrollment, mentoring is a big part of what we're doing. And of course, the Launch Northwest Scholarship. And then mental health is, our youth are in a crisis. In 2013, 58 youth attempted suicides or committed suicide in Spokane County. And that number in 2022 was 543. We are in a crisis, and so that is an issue that we want to deal with at Launch Northwest. Let's talk about how this is being realized here. And we have in Spokane County what is the Spokane County Leadership Council. It is a cross-sector group of people who have come together to guide the work of Launch Northwest. We have about 35 people on that leadership council, from elected officials to school district officials to nonprofit organizations. And they just yesterday heard a a presentation of our implementation plan of how we were going to focus our work. And our work in Spokane will be around engagement outside of school activities and also in mentoring, because we know that mentoring is just a huge part of how our young people can get to their dream and where they're going. Now, one of the things that I wanted to just take a step back and look at is, as a superintendent, retired superintendent, I guess I'm a recovering superintendent after 32 years in public education and 14 years as Central Valley School District superintendent. One of the things that we did was the ALICE simulation, and we did that with our school board and every principal and assistant principal in our district. And it really opened the eyes to our administrators about not truly knowing the challenges that families bring to the school setting. And it kind of changed this whole notion of this, I call it an invisible group of people who look like everything is fine, but underneath the water, they're scrambling. And it brought new appreciation to our staff. And then it also drives us at Launch Northwest, because how do we provide hope for a family who is an ALICE family? How do we say to them that here is an opportunity for you to plan for your child's future, for you to plan for a post-high school education for your child? And how do we sit with them at the dinner table, metaphorically, and say, you know what? With FAFSA and Pell Grants and the Washington College Grant and the and Launch Idaho, and then the Launch Northwest Scholarship, your child can afford a post-high school education to get the skills that they need in order to thrive in our economy. And if we can get and bring hope and change the conversation at the dinner table, then we can start changing lives. But we also know that changing that dinner table conversation is going to take us to provide support for children and families differently than we've ever done before. Because we know that the Promise Scholarship will not move the needle if we're not doing the work that you're doing in a concerted way. If we're not coming together as an entire community to say every child in this community deserves to pursue their dream post-high school. And that's what Launch Northwest is about. It's about pairing this Promise Scholarship, changing the conversation with families, but then not leaving it there, by coming alongside our families and making sure housing needs and food security is taken care of. Is so important to us at Launch Northwest. So as we I'm gonna wrap up there, Molly, unless there's something else that you would like to have me go for.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a
Go
David
ahead.
North Idaho work. Currently, we're looking at, we have a match of about $500,000 that we need to raise money in North Idaho so that we can begin the real work of centering wraparound services, where that needs to go, so that we could provide somebody to help direct and organize. And Christy being one of those people that is could step into this work as we get going forward. But we need some implementation dollars to be matched. And as soon as we can get a match for that $500,000, we're ready to hit the ground running in North Idaho. So as you know, if somebody says I've got 100,000 and match part of that 100,000, then we can start getting to work there, and we're ready to move forward. We need to find out how Idaho Launch is going to work with Launch Northwest Scholarship, so that we make sure we're putting together the greatest opportunity for our families post high school. I hope that answers your question, David.
Thank you, Ben. And I think we're pretty well wrapped up on our slide. So we can actually just jump right into questions. If folks have any specific questions about Launch Northwest and Novia in general, endowment building, Christie's passion for nonprofits. Happy to take any questions y'all might have.
Molly, could I get your contact information, please? Because I would like to talk to you some more about grants.
Yep, absolutely. I will drop it in the chat box here. I'm gonna stop share right now, and then I can get to the chat box.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? Angela, you're on mute. Maybe she's on a call. Questions for Innovia?
Stunned, blown away.
Well, excellent. A fantastic presentation. Thank you again, Ben, Molly, and Christy. Molly and Ben, if you want to hang out for us for another 12 minutes, feel free to. We're gonna switch gears and move into our virtual roundtable. Again, that is this is your chance to share an update of within your agency, or maybe celebrate a win. What's a win that happened since we last got together? Or a challenge or a struggle. Hey, I have this challenge or struggle, and has anybody had this before? Or does anybody know a name or a resource that maybe we haven't thought of? So that's kind of the idea of the virtual roundtable, and there's no particular order, just whoever wants to go can lead off. So who wants to lead off?
I'll start.
Thanks, Lisa.
Lisa Donaldson from Family Promise of North Idaho. We are a homeless shelter for children and their supporting families. And we're having one of our two big fundraisers coming up next week on Friday. It's an Aloha dinner and auction. Tickets will be being sold until probably Wednesday, but I'd get them at the beginning of the week if you want to come, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Who's next?
I'll go next.
Thanks, Jill.
Hey, Jill Ainsworth with NAMI. We have a Orchestrating Change. It's a film about a orchestra that is primarily made up of folks with a mental health issue, or folks who deal with, sorry, my dogs are having a heyday in the background, or folks who deal with folks or live with folks with a mental health issue. It's April 18th at 6 o'clock at the Human Rights Education Institute. We'd love for folks to come and participate. We ask for a $10 donation at the door. Again, it's at 6 o'clock on the 18th at HREI. I think I got the sequence of those initials right because I always get them wrong. And then we also have in May for Mental Health Month, our first NAMI Coeur d'Alene walk here at the Landings Park in Coeur d'Alene. If anybody is interested in tabling or coming to that event, you can sign up at NAMI Coeur d'Alene, NAMI Walks Coeur d'Alene, I think it is. Or you can go to our page and sign up through there. Or you can email our email address and get more information.
Excellent. Thank you. Who's next?
Sorry, this is Colleen from North Idaho College Workforce Training. We have a couple of programs coming out this summer that are scholarship supported. So if anyone knows any high school students who are interested in doing a apprenticeship exploration, 16 years and older, the scholarships cover the tuition. So it's a 3-week program where they come out with first aid, CPR, OSHA certifications, and also get to explore all the trades. It's a great program. We did a pilot last year and had 11 students. It was awesome. And like I said, it's all covered. And then we're running an adult option this year as well. So anyone who is interested in changing careers or looking for employment, we'll be running a program for adults at the same time. I'll throw the flyers into the chat if I can get them in there.
Excellent. Thank you. Other wins, struggles, updates.
Hey, Colleen, can I get your information in the box so I can talk to you about, I have some participants on my caseload that needs that help. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Very cool. I know there's more updates. Come on, let's hear from you.
This is Carrie at United Way. A couple quick things. In about 2 weeks, we have our annual spring dash. You can run, walk, jog, 5K, 10K, half marathon, or my favorite part, the tot trot. And this year there's going to be, we'll be having a lot of resources there for the tots, for kindergarten readiness tools. So send your families down with small kids to stop at the United Way booth at Spring Dash in McEwen Park on Saturday, the 27th in the morning. And then I'm going to give a shout out to KJ because I have my shirt right here. Let's see. So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and you're probably starting to see pinwheels around town, and we just appreciate the work that the Idaho Children's Trust Foundation does on that issue.
Thanks, Carrie.
I agree with Carrie. The tot trot is the cutest thing. If you come just to watch the tots, you'll find out real quick which ones are competitive and which ones are terrified. Pretty great. They run as fast as their little legs can carry them.
I also want to chime in on something Carrie said, the blue shirt. All through the month of April, it's Wear Blue Tuesday to support Child Abuse Awareness Month.
Thanks, Lisa. Other updates? Haven't heard a win yet. I know there's a win in here.
I've got a win.
Thank you.
So last month I had a patient that I needed to get connected with a diabetic nutritionist. Wasn't able to. I had reached out on here in my first meeting. I had the patient connected with Panhandle Health by that afternoon. And as far as I know, she was able to get in and get the help that she needed. So thank you.
That's a great win. Thank you for that share. Connecting resources with the need. You know, it's part of what this group does. It's very cool to see. All right, last call. Updates, wins, struggles. Okay. Same two homework assignment.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Okay.
I know this is a weird question, and maybe NIC would know to answer that question. We used to have funding for FSS. Unfortunately, our funding went out for our forfeiture funds are literally almost drained. So I'm needing to go out of my resources to get people who need help with GED. I have a participant that is requesting she wants to take the GED, but she can't afford it. So if there's any connections whatsoever of getting some small funding for that, please let me know, because she's not the only one that is inquiring about getting a GED. Thanks.
Excellent.
Yeah, just connect with me, Evelyn.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, same two homework assignments. Invite somebody in your network to our next meeting in May, as well as the email that I sent out. All of you has the Spring Helps Edition. Thank you, Arwen, for putting that together for us again. Share that as well. The more that we can broadcast that, the more help we can do. Those are the two homework assignments again for everybody. Thank you so much. And it looks like everybody's getting 4 more minutes back in your day. You're welcome. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.